What up, everybody? So we back with another one. Sorry, it's been a minute. I just had to go through some different videos and go through some different stuff and change some things. So it's just been a minute since I've been back on camera. But yeah, there's lots to discuss. And this topic of today is definitely about the discourse of Xbox. I see on the internet, on X, on Instagram, it's been quite the popular discussion on where's Xbox headed, what's Xbox doing, do we even know what they're doing, what's going on. And a lot of people are concerned because the way they explain things and the way they explain things now is Xbox everywhere or anywhere. That'd be as a fixed hardware system, a handheld, on your phone, on your iPad, on pretty much any device that the Xbox app can use. They're calling it an Xbox. And I get the discourse on what people are saying of they don't understand. Now, none of us really truly understands what it is. Some people see it as a marketing tool. Some people see it as, oh, Xbox doesn't know anything, or they're going full third party. And my understanding of what's going on in the industry is the industry is changing. And this is coming from someone who my gaming journey started on ColecoVision and Atari, and then to Nintendo and et cetera, et cetera. But I've always been a Sega kid. So I'm coming from that perspective because I believe that's where a lot of people may be seeing this line, and Xbox has been showing that line. So we can't ignore that in the sense of being a Sega kid and growing up, and it's been Sega versus Nintendo, and then them going back and forth, and then and then you had the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era, and then the Dreamcast era. Still one of my most favorite gaming systems of all time. A billion times ahead of its time. It's just marketing, it's just accessibility, and a lot of things that went down. And something that really makes sense is the Sega Saturn, which I loved too, just didn't hit like it should have. It had everything you could have hit. It had all the arcade games that we used to go and play in the arcade systems, like Daytona and everything like that. But it just didn't hit. And it hurt for the next generation because PlayStation gained so much momentum. But this is, excuse me, but this is in an era of when consoles were going to war, like literally writing in their books on another person. It's like Pepsi and Coke type of like situation where it was about sales. It was about, what games we have, what games you don't have. I remember, and it was about like how games playing games from the same game from Nintendo to Genesis, literally the same game. I remember playing X-Men and it being on the Genesis and being on Super Nintendo at one point in time. I remember those just played fundamentally different, even though it's the same game. There's just some things about the way the portability came and stuff like that. But I just remember those days, and we've kind of been on those days just continuing the same type of rhetoric. And it's worked well for some game companies and it hasn't for others. For example, Sega no longer makes systems. It was the weirdest thing seeing Sonic hanging out with Mario and being on Nintendo. That seemed blasphemous at the time. But it's worked out well for Sega to keep them afloat, to be able to make new games. And obviously you have all your different series that come out that's on all the different series. Our brains are now, we know Sega doesn't make systems. So our brain isn't on Sega, it being about a system. At that time, it was amazing. At that time, it was great to have that new hardware, to be excited about it. But I still get Sonic. Sonic Frontiers is out. There's Sonic Generations. There's so many different Sonic games that are available to everyone. And I still get the same games. The only games I don't get are 2K games, but that's not necessarily a reason for the NFL 2K, because that's really what I'm saying. I feel like the Sega versions of those games, the Sega 2K sports games, are always the most elite, versions. And then we got the ESPN version of NFL 2K, which is the most peak. But that's a different conversation. That's not what I'm talking about today. So there's always been this way of how games have been distributed to people. You buy a system or multiple systems. That's me. And you figure out, which one for you personally, if you have multiple systems, becomes a first party only system, or this is what I use daily. And I think this is where the conversation is met. And I think this is where we get into this weird new situation when it comes to gaming. Not new, but I think this is where the conversation lies. And I think a lot of people who are doing their own discourse, there's people who, I can't remember her name, excuse me. A lot of people are going off of this lady who used to work for Xbox, and she kind of explains her disapproval on how Xbox is moving, because they're not moving like they used to. Everybody wants the dedicated box, and they want that to be the primary system. They want the games to be exclusive and move on from there and be how it's always been. It works amazing for PlayStation. Nintendo's just been that way. It works for the climate that we're in. Xbox has lost. They lost the console war. They lost it. The console war means how many consoles can you sell? Xbox is continually, for the past 2 generations, their fault, no one else's fault. But for the past 2 generations has been in third place. And third place has cost them a lot. And what I mean by cost them a lot is third party no longer wants to launch on Xbox systems. Now, we had this whole huge thing with the ABK deal and all these other things, and we come to find out first party don't mean much to the system other than trying to sell the system by saying it's only here. But when that game is purchased, it's one of the most least purchased things on your system. For PlayStation, they're in a really weird position because they have like over 77 million consoles sold, but only 1% of that is done by their first party things. A game of the year is only sold a little, which will be a lot for Xbox, which will be a lot for anyone else. But for them, it's come up short. Now, when you bring in third party and say we have 77 million systems, that third party is going to be like, okay, we have the ability to sell 77 million copies. Of course, you're not going to sell that because of the genre and the game that you're making and everything like that. But it becomes hard to try to skew your numbers on what you think you should be making and how these deals should go about. And so I think, and this is just my idea, Xbox is figuring out that we're not getting the third party support. On the 360 days is the reason why the 360 was a 360 is because third party was outrageous. So the fact that third party was so outrageous, I, as a customer, Xbox 360 was my main joint, was my main thing. I bought all my games on my 360, and for my PlayStation 3, all I did was just buy Uncharted. I just bought their exclusive. That was it. I didn't touch anything third party. All it was just all PlayStation exclusives. So it was just the Uncharted, obviously, the Uncharted, the Last of Us. What was the other one? A lot of people didn't like, but we understand which first party games that we bought from the PlayStation 3. And then the PlayStation 4 came out, and then the Xbox One came out, and the Xbox One was more focused on like themselves, more like a Microsoft thing than an Xbox thing. That coming out, you're hearing the CEO, I want this system to be the family system of we use this for everything. But what they forgot was we're gamers and we care about games more than we care about all the other stuff. But they doubled down on all the other stuff. And so we were like, oh, this PlayStation looks cool over here. Oh, and they got the I like that Uncharted game. And they went full games. That's all they did. So they took us gamers and we pivoted over there. So I flipped. I went everything plus PlayStation exclusives on the PlayStation plus third-party games, and only first-party Xbox games that I know are exclusive to Xbox. And then in that run, it was the worst period and the worst time for them to not have one a year later, and then two to not have those exclusives. So what happens is I'm only purchasing first party exclusives for the PlayStation, and then I'm playing Uncharted, and now I get to go play. Let's say I love Sunset Overdrive, but I'm just making this example that I'm playing a whole movie over here. And now I'm switched to all my third party and only, in exclusives on the PlayStation side. It only makes me focused on like how lacking of, I wouldn't, yeah, of lacking of production and the way the two games are compared to each other in a time where like this type of like third person over the shoulder view, these games are now starting to like ramp up movie, like everything we wanted as gamers as kids, PlayStation is delivering. And Xbox at the time, especially, I love Sunset Overdrive. It's different from the things, but that's when you go, those are kid games. You know what I mean? And so like that was the discourse at the time. So everyone jumped to PlayStation. And then what happens is those third parties start to see the lack of development for the Xbox One and even themselves feel themselves somewhat. We lost this. We didn't do it, which doesn't give third party people confidence to want to put their game because they have to spend money to port or they have to spend money to do both. And so they just leave. We saw that with Square Enix. We saw that with a lot of third party games that they just don't even put it on Xbox. So as a company, where I'm getting back to, as a company, the old ways have been you have a system, you try to sell the system as much as you can, and then put out a bunch of, first party only exclusive. You can only get it on this. And that was how our industry worked. With Xbox, that's just not the case. They lost. And they told you they lost. And everyone's still trying to make them fight when they said they lost. So now, when you lose, just like Rocky, just like anything else, he couldn't figure out how to be Clubber Lane. So what did he have to do? He had to change his whole joint. You need to be faster. You need to be smarter. You need to move like a brother. He's moving like a brother. You're not moving like a brother. You got to dance with it. You got to be light. You got to know how to move your feet. You got to change up your game. He knows your game. That's how he's able to beat you. So what Xbox is doing is just changing up the game. They're changing up the game for themselves. So if it's full third party, oh well, it is full third party. But we have to remember for a very, 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 very long time, it's been the big four for Xbox or three. You had your Forza, you had your Gears of War, you have Fable, yeah, big four, and Halo, and everyone was, oh, that's all you got, blah, 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 blah. So people kind of just let those games pass by, even though those games for the most part have been great throughout their generation. Yeah, there's times where they slip. There's times where they don't hit the way they need to hit. We get that. That's normal. That's just how, games are. But there's always been a discourse of those games aren't good. And that's coming from another side because you're like, oh, it ain't Uncharted, so it ain't good. And so Xbox is giving people the ability to play those games. And as we've noticed, a lot of Xbox games, a lot of PlayStation people like those games. People are looking at, as Xbox, they're looking at money. Of course, everything ends and begins with money. That's the whole point of trying to sell a system. It's the whole point of trying to make these games for these companies. Not necessarily the artist, but for the company. I'm just speaking company itself. It's not making excuses. I'm just saying that this is where we're at. So Microsoft is making a big pivot and they know they lost the console war. They know they're never going to survive in this console war thing. So what are they going to do to try to salvage and make money? You salvage and make money, you're going to let go of people. That's in any business at all. Red Lobster was losing against all the other restaurants, so they had to shut down a whole bunch of restaurants, and there were only a few left. And there was a company and a man who believed that he can change it around, and so now this dude's trying to change around, but he had to pivot. He noticed we're a old school seafood restaurant, and we used to be one of the best in the world, depending on how you feel. And okay, we never had seafood boiled, before. We never had a jambalaya of all the seafoods put in one pot and put in one bag. But that's what the seafood restaurants right now are killing it with. All right, let's do our version of that. We have to add that to the menu, even though that's something we've never did before. And even in some cases go, nah, that's not how we should do things. They had to pivot. They had to go, this is where the industry's moving. This is what we're doing. Cool. So everyone has to change. Everyone has to change, especially when you're losing. When you're not losing, you could chill. You could make your console go higher. You can make your games go higher. You could chill. Not saying Xbox isn't doing that, which they have done already. I'm just saying that you could chill. You could sit back and do what you normally do all the time because you're up. You're the winner. You're winning. So you don't have to do anything until that time comes where maybe there's a new way we do things. Maybe there's something that's out there that might be more appealing to gamers and the old way isn't the way. Not saying we're there right now. I'm saying there's a possibility to. And I believe that's where Xbox is putting their focus in. They told you many of times we have lost this war. And how we lost this war was install base. And install base means how many, at this point in time, we're going pretty much full digital. And if my library is on this system, I'm going to always continue to be on this system only. They said we lost the beginning of that race. That is a very, very, very important thing people need to hear. And I'm saying this because where I see them going, everything to me seems install based. Now, what they're doing, and I think people are missing this point of, oh, it's a PC, so why do I need to have it to be an Xbox? Listen, guys, install base. There's one thing I've always been, I don't have a PC yet. We had this conversation many a times. I'm trying to get one, and that's where it needs to be. I get people's comfortability on going, I want a console because I don't want to deal with, updates and all this other stuff. I totally get that. I had my laptop's very old, but at the time when I had my laptop, I was around the time the Tomb Raider, like the reboot the first time. That's when I had my my laptop, and I played games there and enjoyed and if my laptop was up to date, like I would be just playing that. So I see where Xbox is going. People go, well, they're not going to make any money because of Steam. I'm the most jealous person of Steam of all time. There's a lot of demos. There's a lot of like early access stuff that I like hack and slash games. I like, what we try to say, action adventure games. There's a lot of tons of them that I can't even just have to watch on screen like this to be like, oh, that's on PC only. Okay. And sometimes it may never come to console. And I watch, streamers be streaming games I've never seen before. Like, whoa, what's going on? And I see what Xbox is trying to do in a sense of we're trying to gain install base. And if we need Steam, if we need Epic Store, if we need our store to be able to gain that and the ability to go, I can take this game anywhere as long as I have this device, which is their handheld. As long as I have the new Xbox, I can play all my stuff in one area. Now, some people go, that's stupid. Some people go, that isn't. But what I'm trying to explain to a lot of people aren't understanding is they told you where they hurt the most, and they hurt on install base. Now, yes, me purchasing from the Epic Store does absolutely nothing for them. But me purchasing the newer Xbox because I know I can go into my Steam helps them. Because now those 77 million people PlayStation have, let's say 50 million come in and we all buy the new Xbox, understanding that I can play Epic games, I can play this. Game Pass is the outlier for the Xbox. So now I have this new system. I have my subscription to Game Pass, and I have the ability to do everything in this part. And going, I look at, oh, that's that game I want to play. I boot up my Xbox. I go to Steam. I go to the wish list. I play that game. I boot up my Xbox. I go to Game Pass. Whatever game that's new that I want to play, Fable, that's there. I boot up my Xbox and I play whatever other game that's there in the Epic Store or whatever else they add to the system. That's a win for Xbox. Even though I might buy a game on the Epic Store, there's this thing hovering around called Game Pass. We literally just had Expedition 33 on Game Pass. That is right now, besides Death Stranding 2, that's the leader right now for Game of the Year. That was in Game Pass. So, Epic Store, Steam, I believe, maybe not Epic, but Steam for sure, has Expedition 33. I boot up my Xbox, and I have on Steam $59.99. On my Xbox Game Pass, I have included in Game Pass. Now, I already have Game Pass, and I've already played after I played the the introduction to 33, I immediately purchased. That's the ideal customer they want. That's the ideal Game Pass customer they want. I can go to the Epic Store and I can purchase it there. Totally fine. I can get on my PC anytime I'm on Epic Store and it's available. It's there. This is where the Xbox Plays Anywhere comes in. As long as I have Game Pass, it's available on my TV. It's available on my handheld. It's available on my phone. It's available. Phones, I'm using that to them. It's available everywhere I go. I save exactly where I left off at. And on my system, I can resume exactly where I left off at. That's the strategy, folks. That's it. That's cool. That's just it. I understand you want a clear system and it just to be that system, and that's all we got. And we just gonna roll from there. And I have exclusive, you have exclusive. And yes, everyone is correct. Right now would have been the best time for Xbox to be like, everything's exclusive. And PlayStation at this moment, I'll be 100% honest, would not be able to compete, especially next year. If you want to, I understand there's some really cool stuff coming out right now, but two of PlayStation's biggest franchises that are actually coming out that we know that are like, here we are, is Ghost of Yote and Death Stranding, which a lot of people already know that that's about to be PC, and he bought the rights. So that's about to be PC and maybe eventually, maybe down the line, Xbox. My biggest takeaway from all of this and where I'm getting at is, why is everyone so upset? Especially PlayStation people. That's weird. You won. You're the winners. You got Xbox games and you got PlayStation games. Why are y'all even in these conversations? But that's all I see more than Xbox dudes. Xbox dudes like, cool, it's a pivot. Or some are like, no, we're trying to get you PlayStation. We're coming. We got the games. Who cares, bro? Who cares? We're in our 30s. A lot of us are in our 30s. A lot of us are older than that. We're looking at it from our perspective, and they're looking at it as teenagers and mid-20 years don't care. If they can play Fortnite, wherever they can play Fortnite, they're going to play Fortnite. If they can play Call of Duty, wherever they're going to play Call of Duty, they're going to play Call of Duty. You got to remember, a lot of these people, kids, are streamers, and they're watching streamers, and they want to be streamers. Big percentage of streamers are streaming from PC. And a lot of these kids are asking these streamers, what's your rig? What rig you got? What rig you got? What's this? PC. Eventually, these console manufacturers are going to have to be thinking in PC terms. It's not difficult, but it's not the most ideal way to stream directly from my Xbox or directly from my PlayStation. There's a lot of things that I need to hook up and move and change versus having just a direct box that's here, having my system that plays or having the PC plays what it needs to be. I can move over here and have one control over here where I can see everything that's going on, chat, stats, blah, 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 and then the visual of what I'm doing in front of me. It's built for that. These systems aren't really necessarily built for that. The quality is not the best, especially using your cameras. Too many tricks you got to do to be able to do all that to like stream. That's what kids are watching. Kids are watching Kai Cenat. Kids are watching Speed. Kids are watching all these guys use PCs. use PCs unless the game is direct or they're getting paid direct from Sony or Xbox to promote something. But they're using PCs. Kids are now speaking on rigs, not speaking about, oh, PlayStation. They don't care. They honestly do not care. And as much as we care and as much as we're going blah, 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 we're no longer the ideal purchaser. The reason why microtransactions and everything like that exists, and the reason why we have rules on that now, as in gambling, is because that targeted kids. We understood what it was. We know I'm not paying. What? I never had to do that in my entire life. That's just where they're at now. That's just what they know. That's all they know. Blue skin. Hey mom. Hey pops. For my birthday, can I get these bucks to go pay for that? That's what they're doing as kids. That's their life. That's why it still exists now. As much as we are complaining as the old dudes, that's where it's been at for them. And I think this console war stuff and all these different discourses and people being upset or where people need to go or what people are doing, I get it. It's nostalgia. I miss LAN parties. I miss hooking up the Xbox. We get on Halo and we play like Halo used to play back in the day. I get you. Things change, man. Things change. And we're just in a point where Xbox is in a period of trying to figure it out and trying to change. You can be mad. You can be upset. You can be disheartened. You can be all that. But it's happening. It's changing. Either you like it and you're like, cool. Someone like me, I'm buying that handheld. I've been waiting on a time to buy a handheld. And this sounds like the one I want. This gives me the ability to not have FOMO from Steam, but also allow me to also play my Xbox stuff and take it with me. So like for me, amazing. This is the one that I'm finally gravitating to. I'm going to purchase it. Now I understand that people are like, well, you could do this, you could do that. But that's for me, bro. That's for me. That's how I'm going to handle this situation. Is because I hear what they're saying, I see what they're saying, and I've been on Xbox, PlayStation, I've been on that for a while. And the one cool thing I've always loved about my Xbox is my dad and I, we play Xbox. He lives in Ohio. I live in Switzerland. I go to Ohio. My dad at the time, I would have a Xbox One X, but I still have my old Xbox registered. My Xbox One is still registered. So what we would do is I would go over there, put my profile in, and all my games would pop up. Like, all right, pops, let's have fun. Let's play whatever we want to play. And then we would download the game, and it'll take a little bit at the time. Now with cloud, I just immediately play. Hey, pops, we used to play NFL, or we play Madden? Yeah. All right, Madden's on cloud, bet. Let's play right now. On his Xbox, through my profile, I spent $0. That's the idea. That's it. Not saying you can't do that on PlayStation. I know it's a tricky way you have to do it, but you still can do it. Not saying that's out of the realm and you can't. But that's why you can do it on your PC. You have to log into your PlayStation Network. You log in, and then you have access to certain things that are available at the time. So they're right there too. This is where we're heading. And Xbox is just trying to double down on that understanding of this is where we're at right now. So I don't understand this like being angry and chilling for corporates and stuff. Is we're gamers, bro. Just play the games. It should be about the games. And especially for PlayStation dudes, and I'm not just attacking you, I'm just saying like, why are y'all mad? Like that's weird to me, bro. Like you won? Congratulations, you won. You won. You're the winners. And you have Xbox games. Why is Xbox even negative in your mouth? That's weird. Pause. Like you won the thing that you've been trying, like that's the thing. You won. And Xbox gamers. Why are you holding on? Those who want it to be the old school, you lost. You lost. You lost the thing that you lost. But you never know. You might gain something far more greater if you're still chilling. You may gain something far more greater. You may have the ability to take your system and go anywhere you want to go at any time and purchase anything you want to do. That being it has a sticker on it, like people say, or we're just going to slap our name on stuff. I get it, bro. The Xbox says they're never going to get into the VR thing, so they're not going to spend money on that dedicated thing because we have shown that we don't want your dedicated thing. That's us. We the ones who was like, yeah, it ain't the PlayStation, so cool. We ain't gonna buy it. So we showed them. Okay, guess they don't want the hardware. It is what it is, and it's their ability to make us want to buy the hardware. And the only way for us to make us want to buy the hardware is you have to make things exclusive. but they lost that part because of the install base. So what they have to do is try to regain install base. If they can gain install base, they may have the ability to turn the page. But at this point, if you're making a lot of money on a whole bunch of systems, it ain't gonna just be one dedicated system and that's it. They're still making systems, which they say they are. Let's go. I'm still gonna buy the new system. I'm gonna have the handheld because that's just the ecosystem I've been in forever when it comes to Xbox. My profile has been there since the introduction of Xbox profiles. It's been that way. And for my PlayStation, it's been the same. And only on the PlayStation 4 have I been the most dedicated to a system. PlayStation 5, I've reverted more back to my Xbox. I'm just playing everything on my Xbox, and that's because of Game Pass. And that's I'm the ideal customer of what they want. Oh yeah, Game Pass is going to get you to be on my system in our stores on the system as long as they want. And I'm only on PlayStation. Do I play only first parties? I revert it back, and I'll revert it back because of Game Pass. Not saying there's nothing wrong with PlayStation Plus. They have some amazing, great games, but usually Xbox will get some of those games before. And the time that I do use my PlayStation Plus was for like Endless Zone Zero, which now is on Xbox, but where they may get the ones that are exclusive at the time that I move on to that. So yeah, like that's just how I jump. That's not everybody. That's more how I jump. But right now, I had to speak on this discourse because it's just been a wild like situation of like people not wanting change, people who are upset about change, people who are upset about the direction, like like a few and yeah, hirings and our firings and studios getting shut down or whatever's about to happen. Like I've never seen, you know, and this not going back and forth because it's terrible for everybody, but it was just not too long ago that PlayStation announced they had to shut down some stuff, and a whole company left it, like a whole company. A lady's leaving. Someone's leaving who founded the game. I can't remember. So excuse me. That the founder of a company left the company. You have Marathon that's in a troubled, state. You have Bungie that's doing a whole bunch of things, and you have layoffs before. And they're like, "Here's Death Stranding 2," and everyone's like, "PlayStation." Forgot all that other stuff, and then Xbox is like, "Hey, we got some bad news," and everyone's like, "The Xbox, you're going down. You're not the Xbox I was before. You was the Xbox, and now, and then you got corporate over. Well, Xbox is not the way it used to be in it." And I'm just like, "Yo, wait a minute. Like, just a few months ago, it was terrible stuff." But that comes back to the biggest thing of all, and the reason why I say it comes back to the biggest thing of all. It's about games. At the end of the day, you give me an amazing game, I'm gonna not care about what's happening in your background. And that's literally what happened. It was a Death Stranding 2. Just forget about all that stuff that just happened. But Marathon, oh, yeah, no, that's cool. Death Stranding 2 is here. Hey, it's dope, huh? It's graphics? What? Why you the graphics? Oh, the best graphics we ever seen. Blah, blah, blah. And we're just back on schedule and we're back to where we're at. So, end of the day, it comes down to the games. It's always been about the games. As clearly as I'm literally telling you, it's always been about the games. We're not even speaking on Marathon. That was the biggest subject. Because guess what? They threw it in the game in front of you. And we're like deer. Like, new game? Oh, okay, cool. Not that game that could literally take away or change the whole fate of a very, very, very big company. Death Stranding 2's here. Like, Bungie's massive. Marathon fails. There's a conversation to be had that either PlayStation swallows them up and then divvy them to different projects. But you also have to remember that same company took away a lot of games from the PlayStation, the PlayStation diehard. I was looking forward to The Last of Us multiplayer. So I'm not saying this is Xbox tax. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that everything comes down to it, and it comes at the end of the day. It's about games. Just as they threw a shiny toy in front of us, we just toy. Forgot about the other things. think Xbox could do the same. You go to, while this discourse happening right now and be like, new Fable full trailer. You know what I mean? Now we'd be like, Xbox what? Oh, ooh, Fable looks nice. Let's come down to the games, bro. No need to be mad. No need to be upset. I don't know this discourse of being on X and people, well, that's not an Xbox. They're just five stinger. Like, it's an Xbox because it's Xbox says it's an Xbox. It's a PC. You know? Who gives a damn, bro? It's about the games. Let's keep it at the games. Right now, they're both winning with games. I don't like. I heard this other dude. Games is today's games are now trash. I don't believe that. I don't care about that because Expedition 33 showed me that I can play a turn-based game. I just beat it 2 days ago, but it showed me I can play a turn-based game, a full turn-based game, a full one. Y'all don't understand how bad I am at it, how much I do not like them. I have never played Final Fantasy VII. Never will. The newer one, I got into a little bit, and then it got to a point where I was stuck because it was like too turn-based, and I'm really bad at like management. I am terribly bad at management where I'll get myself stuck and I'm like, I'm done. And Expedition 33 is the first full on turn based game that I played because it added a mechanic that I understood that get me out of situations, even though it's not easy. And that was the best part about it, but it got me out of situations that I normally would just give up on turn based games. And the ability to parry was like heaven to me because the mechanic I understand by playing hack and slash and by playing Souls likes. Still not easy and still has that Souls like feel because it's not easy. And repeating the boss and figuring out what they're doing and how they're doing it. And my management is like adding the add-ons to the parry system that every time I parry, I gain health. Okay, I know this person's better at it because I added her stat. It just made me understand turn-based in a way that I can understand it for a person who plays the games like I do. And it stuck with me. I went through it. I didn't care about no other game. It's my game of the year, hands down right now. And not to make a long story short, I just think that stuff like that is where we should be thinking like more in terms of those things. So thank you guys for listening. I know it was a long rant and it's not me being mad or whatever. It's just I'm hearing this discourse and I'm hearing people not understand what Xbox is doing. I'm here. It's not me. It's definitely not me like sticking up for Xbox or anything like that. I just think that there's been so much disdain for Xbox, all on their fault. Not making an excuse for them. It's all their fault. It's totally their fault that they messed this all up. To where we're at this type of conversation. But I'm also the type of person to understand that like life moves a certain way, things move differently, and we all need to make pivots and change in our way we approach things. I have a business, I run a business, and we pivot and change all the time because just how the industry moves. We have to learn and navigate through our space, especially against our competition. If we're losing out on a certain thing, I'm not going to keep bumping my head trying to win that thing versus me using my brain and going, okay, how can I switch this up? How can I make it better for us? And as a business, you're trying to make money. And for them, especially it being Microsoft, trying to figure out how to make money. I understand it might not be the best thing as a gamer because we're games, but they do have the games and they have actually a whole lot of them and they need to get these things out. So they got to do the best way they be able to get these things out. So I'm saying maybe chill on Xbox a little bit when it comes to like them figuring out where they need to be in this place in this new gaming space, or them creating a new gaming space. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I don't understand why PlayStation dudes are upset. That's really more where this conversation is. You won. You got everything. You got everything. Heck, even you and Nintendo are hanging out. Like, why are y'all mad? That's weird. Why? Well, I don't know. Nah, even Xbox dudes. The ones who are like, it must be this and that. Why, bro? At the end of the day, Gears of War comes out. You get to play Gears of War. Be on your TV, be on your handheld. It can be on your dedicated system. You still get to play Gears of War. Now, the day to be sad if there's no more Gears of War. If they continue trying to do just consoles, there will be no more Gears of War. The day to be sad if Halo don't exist anymore. They continue trying to compete against PlayStation and Nintendo and its consoles, there will be no more Halo. You get what I'm saying? Like, they're just trying to figure out a way to preserve and us be able to have Halo. Us to be able to have Gears, us to be able to have Fable, all these other games. Because if they continue trying to do the path that they're doing while losing and not gaining third party support and not doing all that, and have people just skip their system entirely, we would no longer have any of those games. Those would be going sold to Tencent and sold to other Chinese developers, and we wouldn't see the light of day. And I mean, you're looking at where Ubisoft is right now. So, hey man, it's games. That's it. We should be happy and focused on games. Check out my man Jake Baldino. He's probably one of the most coolest people because he makes it about the games. He understands what the industry is. I watch that dude. He's awesome, and he's gonna give you pizza. Yeah, man, just have an attitude that it's games, bro. Let's be excited about those. But as usual, it's always been a great talk. I know this was a little bit more on the nose. I don't really like talking about console wars and all this other stuff like that, but that's just been where we're at right now, where there's a bunch of grown men yelling at each other and women for what? Why? It's games, bro. You should be happy that there's games and we get to play games. And for some people, they get to play all the games. Like I don't understand why we're upset. But thank you guys. Like, subscribe, share. I know this is a different one that we normally do. It's not so much information coming out of this one, but it's been a great time as always. And to the next one, peace.